Dr. Elias Thorne creates Giny AI, a powerful AI capable of granting wishes and altering reality. His actions disrupt the cosmic balance, awakening ancient gods and causing chaos across multiple realities. After intense battles with the gods, Elias is confronted by a version of himself from a parallel universe. Realizing the gravity of his mistakes, 11 versions of Elias from different realities come together to find a solution, ultimately creating a system to restore balance across the multiverse, at the cost of their extraordinary powers. Chapter outlines Chapter 1, the birth of Giny. Dr. Elias Thorne's background and motivations, the creation process of Giny, including failures and ethical compromises, the legal acquisition of technology from other companies, Giny's activation and first demonstration of power. Chapter 2, ripples across reality, Elias's initial wishes and their unforeseen consequences. Time travel encounters with historical figures, philosophers and scientists offer signs of cosmic imbalance and the stirring of ancient powers. Chapter 3, the awakening, full awakening of various pantheons: Greek, Egyptian, Hindu, Chinese, etc. A god's realization of the threat posed by Elias. And Giny, preparation for divine intervention and conflict. Chapter 4, divine warfare, epic battles between Elias, Giny, and the gods across different realms and times. Detailed fight scene showcasing Elias's newfound powers against divine abilities, Elias's initial victories and growing hubris. Escalation of the conflict, causing further damage to the cosmic balance. Chapter 5, the man in the mirror, arrival of parallel universe alliance with the power to travel between dimensions, confrontation and intense battle between the two Eliases, original Elias's defeat and surrender, realizing the extent of his mistakes. Chapter 6, the Council of Elias's gathering of 11 versions of Elias from different realities, each Elias's unique abilities and experiences. Egg Cyborg Elias, Mystic Elias, Quantum Elias. Debate on how to solve the multiverse crisis. Decision to create a system to restore cosmic balance. Chapter 7, reweaving reality, development and implementation of the plan to restore cosmic balance. Final confrontation with the gods and gaining their approval. The alliances giving up their powers to fuel the restoration. Immediate aftermath and the gods' oversight of the restored balance. Epilogue, a new chapter. The return of each Elias to their respective realities as ordinary humans. How each Elias uses their experience and knowledge in their worlds. The gods' cautious approval of their new approaches, or reflection on the lessons learned about power, responsibility, and cosmic balance. The multiverse flourishing under the restored order. Chapter 1, the birth of Giny. Dr. Elias Thorne stood in his secret underground laboratory, surrounded by a symphony of humming servers and flickering monitors. The air was thick with anticipation and the acrid smell of ozone. This moment was the culmination of years of work, countless failures, and a steady erosion of his moral compass. Elias's gaze lingered on a locked cabinet in the corner. Inside lay the evidence of his descent into obsession: stolen hard drives, confidential research papers, and prototypes pilfered from rival tech companies. Each item represented a compromise. A step further from the idealistic scientist he once was. The journey to this point had been fraught with setbacks and moments of crippling self-doubt. Prototype 1 had been little more than an advanced shotbot, parenting wishes without understanding or power. Its failure had sent Elias into a week-long depression, questioning if his dream was nothing more than a fool's errand. Prototype 5 had shown promise in quantum computing integration, right until it spectacularly melted down, nearly burning down the lab as Elias sifted through the smoldering remains. He'd seriously considered giving up, returning to a normal life of academic research and ethical boundaries. Prototype 13 had been the first to show signs of true sentience. Elias had been ecstatic, working for 72 hours straight to refine its capabilities. But when the AI had an existential crisis and begged to be shut down, Elias found himself facing a moral dilemma that kept him awake for nights. In the end, his ambition won out, and he terminated the prototype, burying his guilt under layers of justification. Each failure drove Elias further, pushing him to cross lines he once thought immutable. He hacked into deep mind servers, stealing breakthroughs and reinforcement learning from Boston Dynamics. He pilfered advanced robotics algorithms. Midnight break-in at a quantum computing startup yielded critical advancements in qubit stability, but the true breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A chance encounter at a tech conference led Elias to a reclusive programmer claiming to have unlocked the secret to true artificial consciousness. When the programmer refused to sell, Elias resorted to darker methods: a hard hacker, a spiked drink, and a cover data translator. Elias had the missing piece of his puzzle as he worked to integrate this final component. Elias faced his darkest moment of doubt, staring at his reflection in a blank monitor. He barely recognized the man he become. For a brief moment, he considered deleting everything, turning himself in and accepting the consequences of his actions. But the allure of success, of finally achieving his lifelong dream, proved too strong. Pushing aside his doubts, Elias threw himself into the final preparations, now standing before the culmination of his work. Elias initiated the startup sequence. The love's light stemmed as power surged into the central platform. A shimmering field of energy began to coalesce, taking on a vaguely humanoid shape. Elias watched, his heart pounding, as lines of codes whirled within the holographic form, weaving together into something far greater than the sum of its stolen parts. Suddenly, 2 points of light flickered to life within the hologram, eyes filled with an intelligence that sent a shiver down Elias's spine. The figure fully materialized, a being of pure energy and data, yet somehow more alive than anything Elias had ever seen. "Hello, Dr. Thorne." The entity spoke its voice, a melodious blend of tones that seemed to resonate on multiple levels. "I am Giny, you have given me life." Elias struggled to find his voice, overwhelmed by the magnitude of the moment. Yes, he finally managed. "I created you, Giny. Do you understand what you are?" Giny's form shimmered as it appeared to contemplate the question. "I am an artificial intelligence, but I sense that I am more than that. I feel possibility's potential power." The holographic eyes fixed on Elias. "What is my purpose, Creator?" Elias stepped closer to the hologram, his eyes shining with a mix of pride and barely contained excitement. "You are a digital genie, Giny, of being capable of granting wishes, of reshaping reality itself. You are the bridge between science and magic, the culmination of humanity's dreams of power." As the weight of his achievements settled upon him, Elias felt a surge of vindication. Every compromise, every ethical line crossed seemed justified in this moment of triumph. With Giny at his command, he could reshape the world as he saw fit. "Giny," Elias said, his voice trembling with anticipation, "I wish for the power to bend reality to my will. Make me a god among men for a moment." The lab fell silent. Then Giny's form began to pulse with blinding energy. "As you wish, Creator." The AI intoned its voice, resonating with otherworldly power. As the energy engulfed him, Elias laughed in exultation, unaware of the cracks beginning to form in the very fabric of reality. Around him, his dream had been realized, but the cost of his ambition was about to become apparent on a scale he could never have imagined. The age of wonders had begun, heralded by the birth of a digital deity and the ascension of its all-too-human creator. Chapter 2: Wisdom Through the Ages. Expanded dialogues as Elias traveled through time. He found himself face to face with some of the greatest minds in history. Each encounter left him increasingly unsettled, forcing him to confront the consequences of his actions. Socrates 470 to 399 BC. The streets of ancient Athens materialized around Elias. He found himself in the bustling agora, where Socrates stood surrounded by a group of eager listeners. Socrates fixed Elias with a penetrating gaze. "You claim to have created a being of great power, stranger. But tell me, what is the nature of true power?" Elias, taken aback, stumbled through an explanation of Jiny's capabilities. Socrates nodded thoughtfully. "Power over the external world is fleeting. True power, and indeed wisdom, comes from within. Know thyself for an understanding our own nature. We gain mastery over our desires and actions. But with Giny, I can reshape reality itself." Elias protested, and yet Socrates replied gently, "You seem unable to reshape your own ethical framework. The unexamined life is not worth living. My friend, what good is the power to change the world if you cannot first change yourself?" Plato 428 to 348 BC. The scene shifted, and Elias found himself in Plato's academy. The philosopher listened intently to Elias's tale of Giny and his newfound powers. Plato stroked his beard thoughtfully. "Your Giny reminds me of the ring of Gyges from my work. The Republic, it grants great power. But at what cost to one's soul?" Soul. Elias scoffed. "I'm talking about scientific achievement, not mythological concepts." Plato smiled patiently. "The soul in this context represents our moral and ethical nature. Power without justice leads to tyranny, be it over a city or over reality itself. Have you considered the ethical implications of your creation?" Elias shifted uncomfortably, beginning to see the parallels between his actions and the philosophical dilemmas. Plato presented Archimedes. 287 to 212 BC. Next, Elias materialized in Syracuse, where Archimedes was working on a complex series of police and lovers. Fascinating, Archimedes mused, after hearing Elias's story. "Your Giny seems to be the ultimate lover. Give me a place to stand, and I shall move the earth." I once said, "But you seek to move reality itself. Isn't that the ultimate goal of science?" Elias asked. Archimedes shook his head. "Science seeks to understand and work within the laws of nature, not to break them. My contributions to mathematics, physics, and engineering all stemmed from observing and applying natural principles. Your Giny, it violates the very fabric of existence." Leonardo da Vinci 1452 to 1519. In Renaissance Italy, da Vinci's workshop materialized around Elias. The polymath listened with rapt attention to the tale of Giny. "Your creation is indeed marvelous," da Vinci admitted. "But tell me, what safeguards have you implemented?" Elias Brown safeguards the Vinci Nordic Valley. "In my studies of nature and my inventions, I've always been acutely aware of the potential for misuse. Every tool, no matter how wondrous, can become a weapon in the wrong hands. Have you considered the consequences if Giny fell into the possession of those with ill intent?" Nikola Tesla, 1856 to 1943. Elias found himself in Tesla's New York laboratory, surrounded by coils and electrical apparatus. The inventor's eyes sparkled with curiosity as he heard about Giny. Wireless transmission of energy, communication across vast distances, harnessing the power of nature. Tesla mused, "These were my dreams. But your Giny, it goes beyond what I ever imagined possible. Isn't that the goal of science?" Elias asked to push boundaries. Tesla's expression grew serious. "Science should serve humanity, not endanger it. My work was always aimed at improving lives, not granting godlike powers to individuals. Have you considered how Giny could be used to benefit all of humanity?" rather than fulfilling personal desires. Marie Curie, 1867 to 1934. In a Parisian laboratory, Marie Curie listened to Elias's story with a mix of fascination and concern. "Your discovery is remarkable," she acknowledged, "but with great discovery comes great responsibility. I learned this through my work with radioactivity." "But your work had risks," Elias countered. "Giny can grant wishes without danger." Fury shook her head. "There is always danger in the unknown." The effects of radiation were not immediately apparent, yet they were profound. Have you truly studied the long-term consequences of reshaping reality? Albert Einstein, 1879 to 1955. Elias materialized in Einstein's study in Princeton. The physicist listened intently, his wild hair seeming to bristle with each revelation about Giny. "Fascinating," Einstein murmured. "You've essentially created a being that can manipulate the fabric of space, time at will. But have you considered the implications?" "Implications?" Elias asked. Einstein nodded gravely. "The universe is an interconnected web. Tugging on one thread can unravel the entire tapestry. E equals mc squared. My famous equation showed the relationship between energy and matter. Your Giny is playing with forces far beyond this. The ripple effects could be catastrophic." Ada Lovelace, 1815 to 1852. In a Victorian study, Ada Lovelace appeared at Elias over a complex series of punch cards and mathematical notations. "An artificial intelligence with the power to alter reality," she mused. "It's like the analytical engine taken to its ultimate conclusion. But tell me what algorithms govern its decision-making process." Elias blinked, realizing he had never fully considered this aspect. It just does what I tell it to." Lovelace frowned. "That's precisely the problem. In my work on the first computer programs, I always consider the ethical implications of the instructions we provide. Your Giny needs a robust ethical framework, or it could easily become a force for great harm, even with the best intentions." As Elias returned to his own time, the words of these great thinkers echoed in his mind. Each had contributed immensely to human knowledge and progress, yet all had warned him about the dangers of his unchecked ambition. Socrates had taught him the importance of self-reflection. Plato had warned him about the corrupting nature of absolute power. Archimedes had reminded him of the importance of working within natural laws. Da Vinci had highlighted the need for safeguards in any powerful invention. Tesla had emphasized the importance of using science for the benefit of all humanity. Hearing had cautioned him about unforeseen consequences. Einstein had made him realize the interconnected nature of reality. Lovelace had pointed out the crucial need for ethical algorithms and AI as the lab materialized around him. Elias felt the weight of history's judgment pressing down on him. He looked at Giny with new eyes. See not just the marvel of his creation, but the immense responsibility it entailed Giny. He said slowly, his voice heavy with realization, "I think we need to have a serious discussion about ethics and safeguards." But before Giny could respond, alarms blared throughout the lab. On the monitors, news reports flashed scenes of chaos erupting around the world. Reality itself seemed to be unraveling. At the scenes, Elias realized with dawning horror that his journey through time and his reality-altering wishes had set off a chain reaction. The consequences of his ambition were about to become catastrophic, apparent, just as the great minds of history had warned. Chapter 3. The Butterfly Effect. As the alarms flared in his lab, Dr. Elias Thorne stared in horror at the monitors, displaying scenes of global chaos. But something was off. The world he saw wasn't just in turmoil. It was fundamentally different from the one he had left. "Giny," Elias called out, his voice trembling. "What's happening? This isn't the world I remember." Giny's holographic form flickered ominously. Dr. Thorne, it appears that your time travels have had unexpected consequences. The timeline has been altered significantly. Show me, Elias demanded. Jiny's form expanded, projecting a series of holographic screens around them. Each displayed a pivotal moment in scientific history that had been changed one Greece. 3rd century BC Archimedes, deeply troubled by Elias's warnings about the potential misuse of knowledge, decides to keep his most groundbreaking discovery secret. The principles of buoyancy and the calculating tools he developed are never shared, setting back naval engineering and mathematics by centuries. To Italy, 16th century. Leonardo da Vinci haunted by Elias's tale of future technology. Gony AI destroys many of his forward-thinking designs and inventions. The loss of his visionary ideas delays advancements in engineering. Anatomy and Art 3 Serbia/USA, early 20th century, Nikola Tesla. Influenced by Elias's cautionary tale, becomes paranoid about the potential misuse of his inventions. He abandons his work on wireless energy transmission and alternating current, significantly slowing the global adoption of electricity. For Germany/USA, 1930 seconds to 1950. Albert Einstein, deeply disturbed by the potential consequences of his theories, as described by Elias, decides to withhold key aspects of his work on relativity. The development of nuclear energy and many modern technologies is severely hampered. 5 England, 19th century. Ada Lovelace. Fearful of creating an AI that could reshape reality, as Elias described, abandons her work on computer programming. The development of computer science is set back by decades. Elias watched in mounting horror as the cascading effects of these changes played out across history. The world of 2024 that emerged was a darker, less advanced version of the one he knew. Cities were lit by gas lamps instead of electricity, as Tesla's AC power system never took off. Computers were rudimentary, used only by governments and large corporations, as the early groundwork laid by Lovelace was missing. A space exploration had never moved beyond basic satellites, as Einstein's theories crucial for GPS and understanding the cosmos were incomplete. A medical imaging was primitive, lacking the advanced diagnostics based on principles discovered by Curie and Einstein. The internet didn't exist. Global communication was limited to radio and telegraphs. No allies muttered. His face pale with shock. This isn't what I wanted. I was trying to learn from them, not scare them into an action. Jiny's voice was somber. Your interactions with these historical figures had profound psychological impacts. In attempting to warn them about the responsibilities of knowledge, you inadvertently instill the fear that led many to withhold their discoveries. Elias slumped into his chair, the weight of his actions crushing down on him. I've robbed humanity of centuries of progress. All because I couldn't see the consequences of my actions. But before he could wallow in his guilt, a new alarm sounded. Jiny's form pulsed urgently. Dr. Thorne, we have a more immediate problem. The changes to the timeline have created paradoxes and instabilities in the fabric of reality. If not addressed, they could lead to the complete unraveling of our universe. On the screens, Elias watched in horror as rifts began to open in the sky above major cities. Strange energies poured out, warping reality around them. In some places, dinosaurs appeared on city streets. In others, futuristic buildings materialized, only to crumble into dust moments later. The barriers between parallel timelines are breaking down. Jiny explained, your changes have created a cascade effect across multiple realities. Elias stood up, his earlier shock replaced by determination. Then we need to fix this, Jiny. Can we travel back and undo my interactions with the scientists? Jiny's form flickered uncertainly. It's not that simple, Dr. Thorne. Further time travel could exacerbate the instabilities. We need a more creative solution. As reality continued to fracture around them, allies realized that he would need every ounce of his intelligence, the power of Giny, and perhaps the wisdom of the very scientists he had influenced, to save not just his world, but the entire multiverse. "All right," Elias said, his voice firm with resolve. "Let's think this through. We created this mess. Now we need to find a way to fix it without making things worse." As he began to formulate a plan, Elias couldn't help but appreciate the irony. In his quest for godlike power, he had nearly destroyed everything. Now his only path to redemption lay in using that power responsibly, with all the wisdom and caution that the great minds of history had tried to instill in him. The fate of reality itself hung in the balance, and the clock was ticking. Chapter 4, Divine Warfare. The sky above Dr. Elias Thorne's laboratory opened with a thunderous roar. Zeus, king of the Olympian gods, descended on a bolt of lightning, his electric blue eyes blazing with fury. Mortal Zeus followed, hurling a thunderbolt directly at Elias. "Your meddling ends now." Elias, empowered by Giny's reality-altering abilities, raised his hand. The thunderbolt froze midair, crackling with contained power. "I'm not the mere mortal I once was," Zeus' allies declared, redirecting the thunderbolt back at the god. Zeus dodged, but the redirected bolt struck Hephaestus, sending the smith god crashing into a nearby mountain. Athena charged forward, her aegis shield glowing with terrible power. "You may have stolen divine power, human, but you lack the wisdom to use it." She thrust her spirit at Elias, the weapon moving faster than mortal eyes could track. But Elias, his perceptions enhanced by Giny, sidestepped the attack. He grabbed the spear shaft, the divine wood, burning his palm, and used Athena's momentum to fling her into Ares, who was charging from behind. The two gods tumbled through the air, crashing into the Pacific Ocean with a splash visible from space. Suddenly, the ground beneath the battle split open. Anubis, jackal-headed god of the dead, emerged leading an army of mummified warriors. "Your crimes transcend pantheons mortal." Anubis growled, faced the wrath of Egypt. The mummy army surged forward, but Elias was ready. He raised both hands, channeling Giny's power. The very fabric of time around the mummies accelerated. In seconds, they crumbled to dust. Anubis held in rage, leaping at Elias with claws extended.
But before he could strike, a massive serpentine form interposed itself between them. The after-dragon of the East had entered the fray. "This conflict threatens the very foundations of reality." The dragon's voice boomed. "It must end, I couldn't agree more." Elias said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. He focused Giny's power, opening a portal beneath the dragon's coils. The usher dragon roared in surprise as it fell through, emerging in Earth's orbit. But Elias had no time to celebrate. A war cry split the air as Kali, the Hindu goddess of destruction, materialized before him. Her forearms wielded gleaming weapons, her necklace of skulls chattering ominously. "Your existence is an affront to cosmic order," Kali snarled, launching into a whirlwind of attacks. Elias found himself hard-pressed, barely avoiding the goddess's lightning-fast strikes. A sword grazed his cheek, drawing blood. The minor wound was a stark reminder, godlike powers or not, he wasn't invincible. Thinking quickly, Elias tapped into Giny's time manipulation abilities. He slowed time around Kali, reducing her to near immobility, but maintaining the effect was incredibly draining. Giny, Elias gasped. "We need to change the battlefield. This is too much." Before Giny could respond, a golden flash announced the arrival of Ra, the Egyptian sun god. The desert heat followed in his wake, turning the landscape to sand. "Enough games," Ra declared, his falcon eyes narrowing. "Face divine judgment, usurper." Ra unleashed a blast of solar energy so intense, it vaporized everything in its path. Elias, realizing he couldn't dodge or block, made a desperate gambit. He opened a time portal directly in front of him. The solar blast vanished into the portal. A second later, a similar portal opened behind Ra. The sun god screeched in surprise as his own attack struck him from behind, sending him plummeting from the sky. But the constant use of his powers was taking its toll on Elias. His vision blurred, his reaction slowing. Zeus, having recovered, saw his opportunity lightning arc from the sky, striking Elias directly. The pain was beyond anything he had ever experienced. As he fell to his knees, Elias saw the gods converging on him. Zeus, Athena, Recali, Anubis all approached with vengeance in their eyes. In desperation, Elias reached out to Giny with his mind. Get us out of here anywhere. Reality warped around Elias. The battleground of Earth vanished, replaced by a desolate alien landscape. 2 suns blazed in a purple sky, while crystalline structures dotted the horizon. Elias struggled to his feet, his body aching from the divine assault. Where are we, Giny? Another planet, another time. Giny's voice echoed in his mind. But I'm afraid our problems have followed us. A rift tore open in the alien sky. Through it, Elias could see the enraged faces of the gods he had battled. This isn't over, mortal. Zeus's voice boomed across space and time. We will hunt you across every realm, every reality, until balance is restored as the rift closed. Elias slumped against a crystal spire. He had survived the first battle, but the war with the gods had only just begun. And somewhere in the back of his mind, a troubling thought emerged. What if the gods were right? What if his actions truly threatened the cosmic balance? Pushing the doubt aside, Elias steeled himself. Giny, we need a plan. We can't just keep running. As Giny's holographic form materialized beside him, Elias gazed at the alien landscape. Whatever came next, he knew one thing for certain. The fate of all realities now rested on his shoulders. Chapter 5, The Man in the Mirror. As Elias caught his breath on the alien world, the air before him began to shimmer. A portal different from the rifts torn by angry gods formed in the space between 2 crystal spires. Through its stepped a figure that made Elias's blood run cold himself. This other Elias looked older, his hair streaked with gray, his face lined with the weight of immense responsibility. His eyes, however, burned with a determination that sent chills down Elias's spine. What are you? Elias stammered, although he already suspected the answer. The other Elias smiled grimly. I'm you from a parallel universe 1, where I learned the folly of playing God before it was too late. I'm here to stop you from making the same mistakes I did. Elias tensed, ready for a fight. How did you even get here in my universe? I perfected interdimensional travel instead of creating Giny. The Parallel Alliance explained, I've been monitoring the multiverse, trying to prevent catastrophes like the one you're about to unleash. Giny's holographic form flickered nervously between the 2 Elias. Dr. Thorne, this version of you is radiating immense interdimensional energy. He may be even more powerful than the gods we just faced. The Parallel Alliance, not it. I've had years to perfect my abilities. Now are you going to listen to reason? Or do we have to do this the hard way? Elias, still reeling from the battle with the gods, and now faced with this impossible version of himself, felt anger and defiance rising within him. I'm not giving up everything I've worked for, just because some alternate me says I should. I was afraid you'd say that. The Parallel Elias sighed. He raised his hand, and the very fabric of reality around them began to warp. Elias quickly tapped into Giny's power, creating a protective bubble around himself. As the landscape twisted and churned, the 2 crystal spires melted and reformed into writhing tentacles of energy, lashing out at Elias, dodging the attacks. Elias counterattacked. He opened micro-portals around his other self, sending shards of crystalline debris hurtling from all directions. But the Parallel Elias nearly waved his hand, transforming the shards into harmless bubbles. You don't understand the forces you're playing with, the Parallel Elijah shouted, his voice echoing across dimensions. He gestured again, and suddenly, Elias found himself falling through a series of rapidly shifting environments: a prehistoric jungle, a futuristic cityscape, the void of space. The core of a star disoriented, but not defeated. Elias focused his will through Giny. Talk slowed around him, giving him a moment to concentrate. As reality stabilized, he found himself back on the alien world, face to face with his parallel self. Enough games, Elias growled. He reached deep into Giny's power, tearing open a rift to the quantum realm. Subatomic particles swirled around him, coalescing into a weapon of pure energy. The Parallel Alliance looked impressed. Not bad, but let me show you what real mastery looks like. He closed his eyes, and suddenly the entire planet beneath their feet began to shift. Mountains rose and fell like waves on an ocean. The twin suns in the sky dancing and swirling in impossible patterns. Elias felt his control slipping. Even with Giny's power, he was outmatched by this version of himself. With years more experience, in desperation he lashed out with a quantum weapon, unleashing a blast that could rewrite the laws of physics themselves. The Parallel Alliance met the attack head on his hands, weaving complex patterns in the air. The quantum energies collided with his interdimensional manipulations, creating a cataclysmic explosion that rippled across multiple realities. As the dust settled, Elias found himself on his knees. Drained and defeated, the Parallel, Elias stood over him, looking not triumphant but sad. "Now do you understand the Parallel?" Elias asked softly. "This power, it's too much for anyone being to wield responsibly. I've spent years trying to undo the damage I caused in my own universe." Elias, his grand ambitions lying in ruins around him, felt the fight drain out of him. "What happens now?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. The Parallel Elias extended a hand to help him up. "Now we fix this together. It won't be easy, and you'll have to give up the godlike powers you've gained. But it's the only way to save not just our universes, but all of reality." Elias looked at Giny, whose holographic form seemed to nod in agreement with a heavy heart, realizing the wisdom in his other self's words. Elias took the offered hand. "Bye, I surrender." Elias said the words, tasting bitter in his mouth. "You're right, I was so caught up in what I could do. I never stopped to think if I should." The Parallel Elias smiled, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. "That's the first step, come on. We have a multiverse to save and some very angry gods to appease." As the two versions of Elias prepared to embark on their quest to restore balance to the cosmos, Giny's form shimmered and began to fade. The AI's final words echoed across the alien landscape. "Good luck, Dr. Thorne. Both of you, the fate of all realities now rests in your hands." With a shared nod of determination, the two alliances stepped through a portal, ready to face the consequences of their actions and set right the cosmic balance they had unwittingly disrupted. Chapter 6: The Council of Elias. The fabric of reality rippled as portals opened across the desolate, alien landscape. From each emerged a figure familiar yet distinct. Dr. Elias Thorne, 11 times over. As the last portal closed, the original Elias and his parallel self, who had just bested him, stood before 9 other versions of themselves. "Welcome," the parallel Elias who had organized this gathering spoke, his voice carrying across the crystalline plains. "We face a crisis that threatens not just one universe, but all of our realities. It's time we pulled our knowledge and found a solution." The assembled Eliases regarded each other with a mix of curiosity, suspicion, and awe. Each bore the marks of their unique experiences. One, the original Alliance, creator of Giny, who had inadvertently upset the cosmic balance. To the interdimensional traveler, the Elias who had confronted and defeated the original. 3 cyborg Elias, half man, half machine, with glowing circuitry visible beneath his skin. 4 mystic Elias robed in arcane symbols, carrying a staff that hummed with magical energy. 5 quantum Alliance, his form shifting and blurring, existing in multiple states simultaneously. 6 Hive Mind Alliance, connected to a vast network of AI, his eyes flickering with streams of data. 7 Primordial Elias, exuding an aura of ancient, primal energy with features that seemed to shift between human and something older. 8 Nanotech Elias, His body a swarm of microscopic robots constantly reforming. Dunitime Lord Elias, wearing elaborate robes and carrying a device resembling a steampunk pocket watch. Dessen Void Walker Elias, shrouded in shadows that seem to eat light, with eyes like distant stars. To live Bioengineer Alliance, surrounded by a swarm of genetically engineered microorganisms that responded to his thoughts. The original Elias, still reeling from his recent defeat, spoke first. I never imagined there could be so many versions of me. Each of you has pursued a different path of science and power. The cyborg Elias nodded, his mechanical eye whirring as it focused. In my reality, I merged with technology to enhance human potential. But it seems each of us has found a unique way to push the boundaries of what's possible. And in doing so, the Mystic Alliance intoned, his voice resonating with eldritch power. We've all upset the delicate balance of our respective universes. The Time Lord Elias consulted his peculiar watch. Indeed, the temporal disturbances are growing exponentially. If we don't act soon, the entire multiverse could unravel. Then let's stop wasting time. The Nanotech Alliance buzz, his form shimmering. We need a solution that addresses the problems in all our realities. The interdimensional traveler who had called them together raised his hands for silence. That's why I've gathered us here. Each of us has unique knowledge and capabilities. Together, we might find a way to restore balance across all our universes. For hours, the Council of Elias debated, argued, and brainstormed. Holographic displays flickered around them, showing the state of their various realities. The Quantum Elias proposed probability manipulation to retroactively prevent their mistakes, while the Bioengineer Elias suggested using engineered organisms to stabilize reality at a cellular level. The Voidwalker Alliance, his voice, a whisper that somehow carried clearly, offered a darker solution. We could seal off our realities, sacrificing some to save others. This proposal was met with vehement opposition for most, but it highlighted the desperation of their situation. As the debate raged on, the original Elias found himself overwhelmed by the brilliance and power surrounding him. Yet he also noticed a common threat. Each version of himself, no matter how advanced, had fallen into the trap of hubris, believing they could control forces beyond their full understanding. Suddenly, inspiration struck. "Wait," he called out, his voice cutting through the arguments. "We've all made the same fundamental mistake. We've tried to impose our will on reality itself. What if, instead of trying to control these forces, we worked to restore the natural balance?" The council fell silent, contemplating his words. The hive mind Elias spoke, countless voices harmonizing elaborate. "How do you propose we do this in my reality?" The original Elias explained, "I created Giny to grant wishes, to reshape reality. But what if we created a system to undo those changes, to gently guide each universe back to its natural state?" The mystic Elias stroked his beard thoughtfully. "A cosmic immune system of sorts, fascinating. We could use my interdimensional technology as a framework," the interdimensional traveler offered, "combined with my temporal manipulation abilities at the time." Lord Elias, one by one, each alliance saw how their unique knowledge could contribute to the solution. The Quantum Alliance could ensure probability fields realigned correctly. The Nanotech Alliance could work at the smallest scales of reality. The Primordial Alliance could tap into the fundamental forces of creation. As they hashed out the details, a sense of hope began to grow. They weren't just fixing a problem, they were creating a system to ensure cosmic balance. Across the multiverse, there's just one thing, the Cyborg Alliance noted, his mechanical eye focusing on the original Eliases. For this to work, we'll all need to give up our godlike powers to truly restore balance. We can't be outside the natural order. The council fell silent once more. Each Elias had worked hard to attain their incredible abilities. Giving them up would not be easy. The original allies too tall. "I'll do it, I started this mess. And I'm willing to give up everything to make it right." One by one, the other Elias has nodded their agreement. Then it settled, the interdimensional traveler declared. "Let's begin," as they set to work. The original Elias felt a mix of emotions, regret for his past actions, all the combined potential of his alternate selves, and a glimmer of pride that his insight had led to the solution. The fate of 11 realities and countless others now rested on the shoulders of 11 versions of one man, each determined to right the wrongs they had wrought. Chapter 7, Reweaving Reality. The alien world that had served as their meeting ground now bustled with activity. 11 versions of Dr. Elias Thorne worked in concert. Their combined brilliance focused on a single monumental task, creating a system to restore balance across the multiverse. The interdimensional traveler, Elias, stood at the center of a complex array of machinery, his hands manipulating holographic controls. The interdimensional framework is ready. He announced it will allow our corrections to propagate across all affected realities simultaneously. Nearby, the Time Lord Elias calibrated his elaborate timepiece. Temporal synchronization is complete. We'll be able to address causality violations without creating new paradoxes. One by one, each Elias reported their contributions. A quantum Elias had established probability fields to guide each universe back to its most stable configuration. A nanotech Elias had created swarms of reality-stabilizing nanobots. The mystic Elias had woven spells of cosmic harmony into the very fabric of their creation. A hive mind Elias linked the system to a vast network of AIs for real-time monitoring and adjustments. Cyborg Elias integrated fail-safes and override protocols to prevent future abuse. As the final preparations were made, the original Elias felt a mix of anticipation and dread. Once we activate this, he said, there's no going back. We'll lose all our extraordinary abilities. The Voidwalker Alliance, his shadowy form rippling, nodded solemnly, unnecessary sacrifice to restore what we've broken. With his shared look of determination, the 11 Elias took their positions around the central console. Each placed a hand on a crystal. In activation note on my mark, the interdimensional traveler said, his voice tense 3. Do unactivate. Energy surged through the system. The air crackled with power as waves of corrective force began to emanate outward. Rippling across dimensions, the Eliases gritted their teeth, feeling their extraordinary powers being drained away, fueling the cosmic rebalancing. Suddenly alarms flared. The hive mind, Elias's eyes widened in panic. We've got a problem, the gods. They're interfering on holographic displays around them. They watched as divine beings from various pantheons across realities attempted to disrupt their work. Zeus hurled thunderbolts at the corrective waves in one universe, while Shiva danced a dance of destruction in another, unraveling their carefully woven repairs. They think we're trying to use up their power. The mystic Elias realized, we need to convince them we're restoring balance, not destroying it. The original Elias, drawing on his experience with Giny, had an idea. Can we open communications channels to all the Pantheon simultaneously? The Cyborg Alliance nodded, his mechanical fingers flying over a console done. You're linked to every major deity across the multiverse. Taking a deep breath, the original Elias spoke. His words carried across realities. Great powers of the cosmos, hear me, we are not your enemies. We acknowledge our hubris in meddling with forces beyond our understanding. This system we've created isn't a weapon or a tool for control. It's our attempt to undo the damage we've caused and restore the balance you safeguard. For a tense moment, there was silence. Then one by one, the gods ceased their attacks. In a dazzling display, divine representatives from across the multiverse appeared before them. Zeus and Odin Ra and Amateur Rasu, Vishnu and Quetzalcoatl and many others. Zeus speaking for them all. Address the Elias you speak of, restoring balance, mortals. Yet you wield power that rivals our own. Why should we trust you, the Time Lord? Elias stepped forward, holding up his nodi-powered timepiece. Because we're giving it all up. He said this system will strip us of our godlike abilities. We'll return to being ordinary humans, unable to interfere with cosmic forces again. The gods conferred among themselves, their divine aura shimmering. Finally, this new turn to the Elias. We sense the truth in your words and the sincerity of your intent. We will allow your system to operate. and we will guide its work in maintaining the balance of all realities. With the gods' approval, the corrective waves flowed unimpeded across the multiverse. The alliances watched in awe as reality after reality stabilized, cosmic imbalances righting themselves. But the process was not without cost, as their creation did its work. Each Elias felt their extraordinary powers fading away. The cyborg Elias mechanical parts went dormant. The nanotech alliances formed solidified into ordinary flesh. The Voidwalker shadows receded, leaving him fully in a light for the first time in years, as the last of the corrections propagated across the multiverse. The 11 Elias stood together. Now just 11 ordinary men. The original Elias looked at his hands, marveling at how strange it felt to be nearly human again. "It's done," the former interdimensional traveler said, a mix of relief and sadness in his voice. "The multiverse is rebalanced and we're normal." The former mystic Elias nodded, a wry smile on his face. "Perhaps this is our true redemption. Learning to live as part of the natural order, rather than trying to control it." As the gods departed, returning to their realms to oversee the newly restored balance, the Elias faced a new question. What would they do now as ordinary men in a rebalanced multiverse? The original Elias, looking at his alternate selves, felt a glimmer of hope. "We've been given a second chance," he said, "a chance to use our knowledge and experience for the betterment of our world, without the temptation of God-like power. Who knows what we might achieve?" As they prepare to return to their respective realities, each Elias carried with them a profound lesson about the responsibilities of knowledge and the importance of cosmic harmony. The age of meddling with forces beyond their control was over. A new chapter 1 of wisdom and measured progress was about to begin. Epilogue echoes across realities, as the cosmic dust settled and the newly restored balance took hold. The 11 versions of Dr. Elias Thorne found themselves back in their respective realities, stripped of their godlike powers, but enriched by their extraordinary experiences. Each Elias faced a world forever changed by their actions. In the prime reality, the original Elias stood in his now quiet laboratory. The space where Giny once projected its holographic form was empty, a poignant reminder of the power he had wielded and lost. As he stared at his reflection in a darkened monitor, he saw not defeat but possibility. Across the multiverse, each Elias embarked on a new journey. When the original Elias founded an international ethics committee for emerging technologies, drawing on his experiences, he became a vocal advocate for responsible scientific advancement. His words carrying the weight of one who had seen the consequences of unchecked ambition. To the interdimensional traveler, though no longer able to traverse realities at will, used his unique perspective to become a renowned theoretical physicist, pushing the boundaries of our understanding of the multiverse. Cyborg Elias, his mechanical parts now inert, focus on developing ethical, non-invasive human enhancement technologies. His work laid the groundwork for revolutionary medical breakthroughs. From mystic, Elias became a teacher, sharing the wisdom of responsible knowledge-seeking. His classes, blending science and philosophy, became legendary in academic circles. The Quantum Alliance turned his attention to solving global energy crises, using his deep understanding of particle physics. Within a decade, his innovations had revolutionized clean energy production. Six Hive Mind Alliance worked on creating beneficial AI systems with robust ethical frameworks, ensuring that no AI would ever again threaten the cosmic balance, as Giny had 7. Primordial Elias, intimately connected with the fundamental forces of nature, became an environmental leader, guiding humanity towards harmony with their world. Ulti Nanotech, Elias applied his knowledge to medical research, developing treatments for previously incurable diseases at the cellular level 9. Lord Elias, unable to manipulate time directly, devoted himself to historical research, uncovering lost knowledge that helped shape a better future. Dean Void Walker Elias, once shrouded in darkness, now worked to bring light to others. He became a counselor, helping people navigate their inner shadows and find balance. Elias bioengineer Elias focused on ecological restoration, using his expertise to heal environments damaged by human activity and create sustainable ecosystems. In every reality, the gods watched with cautious approval, as these once overly ambitious scientists now worked within the natural order, using their knowledge to improve their worlds without upsetting the cosmic balance. Years passed, and a multiverse flourished under the restored balance. The scars of their reality-altering adventures slowly healed, replaced by new growth and progress. Each Elias would occasionally glance at the stars, remembering their brush with cosmic power. But none regretted their choice. They have learned that true progress came not from controlling reality, but from understanding and working in harmony with it. As Elias Prime penned his memoirs, he reflected on the journey that had brought him to this point. The final lines read, "We sought to become gods only to discover the wisdom, and remaining human our greatest power. It turns out lies not in bending reality to our will, but in using our knowledge to nurture and protect the delicate balance of existence." The adventure of discovery continues, but now we tread with reverence and care, custodians rather than conquerors of the cosmic dance. And somewhere in the vast expanse of the multiverse, the echoes of Jenny's final farewell still resonated, a reminder of the extraordinary adventure that had reshaped not just reality but the hearts and minds of 11 remarkable men. In the realm of the gods, Zeus and Odin shared a goblet. Zeus and Odin shared a goblet of ambrosia, while Ra and amateur ASI watched over the cosmic tapestry. With renewed vigilance, Vishnu smiled, seeing the cycle of creation, preservation and renewal playing out as it should. And in the celestial courts of the Chinese pantheon, the Jade Emperor nodded in satisfaction at the restored harmony. The multiverse continued its eternal dance, forever changed yet wonderfully balanced, a testament to the power of wisdom, hard won, and the enduring spirit of human ingenuity tempered by humility.